this is Harmony, as almost everybody in the room already knows. And Harmony is Robert Gillahan.
Howdy, folks.
Mary Gillahan over there.
Oh, I like the spotlight.
And they're in the middle of the legendary Dave Smith. And this is the Arkansas Stories program. Just very briefly, what it is original songs about things that happened and people in Arkansas history. And what we're going to do tonight is focus on the Ozarks region, and then a little ways on down in the program, we're going to try to focus real specifically on Leslie. And as you all know, we have a very special guest who will be a large part of that program. That's Leon Jennings. He's sitting down front here. How many of you know the tune that the guys just played? All right, somebody tell me. The Arkansas Traveler, that's exactly right, which is one of Arkansas's official state songs. I personally think it should be the only one, but there you go. And so what we're going to do is talk about how things came about in Arkansas, and particularly in this part of the country. We're going to start with one that has to do with some of the earliest folks. We'll talk about the Native Americans very briefly who were right here in the Ozarks. But the Caddo were the ones who have, let's say, the deepest roots in Arkansas history, the ones that we know of now who were here, known by that name the longest. But the spirit of this one applies anywhere. I'll just tell you briefly that what caused me to write this one was hanging around down at the swimming hole of the Ouachita River, and somehow or another always felt like there was somebody else there. Do you all have that feeling anywhere around, you know, on any of our rivers and streams or any place where you are? Think about the first people who were here. This branch of the Caddo were called the Cajeño, and that's what the idea of this one is about.
They say your home fire ashes lie beneath us. Were you here? Were you here? They say the paths your hunters made still lead us. Were you here? Were you here? From mother to child you were ages in this land, but nothing I see here was changed by your hand. Did you walk where I walk? Did you stand where I stand? Were you here? They say you grew your corn by the dark river. Were you here? Were you here? They say you built your mounds for your life giver. Were you here? Were you here? By the salt springs you followed the deer and the bear, and the stones that you fashioned are found everywhere. Then you vanished like smoke in the hot summer air. Were you here?
TV window, but oh, go away, hi-oh-way, hi-oh-way. TV window, but oh, go away, hi-oh-way, hi-oh-way. TV window, but oh, go away, hi-oh-way, hi-oh-way. TV window, but oh, go away, hi-oh-way, 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 hi-oh-way.
Down by the waters in the still of evening, are you here? Are you here? Is that the wind I hear, or is it singing? Are you here? Are you here? Well, there's no one beside me, but am I alone? Who's standing beside me if you're really gone? Do you walk in the shadows? Do you rise in the dawn? Are you here?
And the meaning, if I remember this correctly, Mary, of the little part in dialect that Mary was singing is the response to that, we are here.
And it's also Creek in its origin.
Creek.
Not really Caddo, but it's
Okay.
Creek.
All right. So aside from what we would call the native Arkansans, we start to get the Europeans here. And all of us although a lot of us have, let me just, how many of us have the great-grandmother who was Choctaw or the whatever? How many of us have some Native American mixed in? I know, I do. But aside from that, most of us are European. Most of the folks in Arkansas are African American or European with a lot of their ancestry. So the first of those in Arkansas, who are we talking about?
Right.
They come in on the Mississippi River, up the Arkansas River is the French, and settled across. But these were not, by and large, the French who were here were not much interested in building cities and farming. These were woodsmen. They really were adventurers. They just wanted to run around. You know, we don't have anybody like this anymore. We just wanted to run around in the woods and hunt and fish and have a big time and hang out.
Except for deer season.
But that's who we're talking about. Just a quick little thing here. There'll be, well, no, I'll mention that later. We'll do the song, and I'll tell you a couple of things about it afterward. This is Lowland, Arkansas.
Well, my name is Jean Clement, and I'll tell you what I saw from the river Linguille to the Washita. There's a mountain of fir, and there's very little law in Lowland, Arkansas.
Jean Filiol and the Corps Fabre tried to make us march and he tried to make us pray, but he couldn't make us much cause he couldn't make us stay. Adieu to Jean Filiol.
Adieu, Bartholomew runs like a snake. You pull it, think your back is gonna break. You lose 2 miles for every 3 you make
On the Bayou Bartholomew. Arkansas Post is where I trade my pelts for a little bag of silver to hang from my belt. But every time I go there, it's somewhere else. They up and moved Arkansas Post.
Yeah, my name is Jean Clement, and I'll tell you what I saw from the river Linguille to the Washita. It's not the end of the world, just the end of the Quapaw.
In Lowland, Arkansas.
Take it away, baby.
Just a couple of things quick, like there was a community mentioned there. Jean Filiol was sent by the governor, whose headquarters was down in what's now Monroe, Louisiana. He was sent up to a community called École Fabre, and most of us probably have been there. Any of you?
Oh, yeah.
We call it Camden these days, but that's École Fabre. And Jean didn't have much luck, you know. He couldn't organize the folks at all. Like the song says, he couldn't even find them. These people scattered across the area. The main thing that they left behind, not being the settler types, was names. You stop and think about it. The tallest mountain in the state. No, that's not the tallest. Magazine, yes,
Yeah.
but that's still French, right?
Yeah, man.
Magazine. But I was thinking about Petit Jean, which is actually Petit Jean, right? Little John. So mostly what these folks left behind was names. All right, moving on. So the folks who mostly did the settling, not only in the Ozarks but around the country, the largest block of the Europeans were people from the British Isles. English, Scott, Irish. And setting out to write something about this, I talked with late Dr. Bill McNeil about a tune. I said, I know there must be a tune that existed in all of those traditions and made its way to the Ozarks. And this is the one that he came up with, was Leather Breeches. And so we wrote this song around that old fiddle tune. And it's about the folks from the British Isles who wound up here in the Ozarks.
A Highland piper bent and gray, the night before the battle played. He said, come lads, we'll have a song. The dying don't commence till dawn. And I will play and you will dance with all your heart and will, while the tune called Leather Britches will go ringing through the hills. As a time of sorrows it was known, when Ireland could not feed her own, friends came round to toast and pray for those who soon would sail away. Hold fast the songs the harper said, they'll bind you to us still, while the tune called Leather Britches will go singing through the hills. He'd gone surveying for the crown, the Blue Ridge of Virginia found. At night the captain bade him play, take us back to England's heart, he'd say. And as he fiddled, red men watched and held their war clubs still, while the tune called Leather Britches will go dancing through the hills. Ozark girl and a gray-haired man both sit with fiddle bow in hand. Turn by turn and note by note, she'll trace a tune the ages wrote. So for at least another life, if but the good Lord will, the tune called Leather Britches will go ringing through the hills. I'll take it away, Dave.
So folks began to filter in. But right early in that process of people just starting to, come up the Arkansas River into some part of Arkansas or come overland down from St. Louis, there was a fairly, shall we say, unsettling event that began to take place in December of 1811. And it didn't last for an hour or two. It lasted for weeks and weeks, well into the new year. I won't go into all the details about this. There are references to what the Red Man had to say about what caused all of that. This is all tied up with the Tecumseh story, which I won't go into right now. But we were talking about teaching a while ago. That's a story that your kids need to hear. But it is a representation of some of the events that took place during that period of what we call the New Madrid earthquake. The reason it's called the New Madrid earthquake, and New Madrid was a community up in what's now Missouri, it was the closest settlement that had a name. But the epicenter was in northeast Arkansas, over near what's now the Sunk Lands from the earthquake. And all kinds of things happened. The Mississippi ran backward and all those kinds of things. But these are the events associated with the New Madrid earthquake.
What about that Missouri connection?
Yeah, well, there is that.
That's right.
Yeah. Again, with you teachers, if you show your kids the Arkansas map, and there's that, what's called the Boot Heel, that corner that's carved out from the northeast part of Arkansas. You can imagine several explanations for that. You can talk about geology and points in history. We contend in a couple of lines in this song about how that really happened, and you'll hear that explanation.
Northeast Arkansas land is black. Down below is a great big crack. Every once in a while the rock gives way and the earth just can't stand still. Back when they called us the wilderness, people woke one day to an awful mess. Land was sinking and hills were moving and the rivers ran straight uphill.
Red Man said it was a magnitude walking, shaking the ground like thunder.
sitting on the other shore.
Red man said it was a Manitou walking, shaking the ground like thunder. I think it might have been the devil himself, trying to pull us all under.
Well, the quakes went on for many a day. Steeple bells rang 4 states away. But the worst of all came 10 years later, all squared to a judge and jury. The northeast corner of Arkansas was gnawed like a log by a rusty saw. It finally twisted and broke clean off and landed in Missouri.
Red man said it